Imagine stepping outside your home, and within seconds, your eyelashes freeze, your breath turns into ice, and your skin starts to burn. Stay outside for just 10 minutes, and you could lose your fingers, your nose, or even your life. This is not a movie. This is real. Welcome to Oymyakon, the coldest inhabited place on Earth. Hidden deep inside Siberia, far away from modern cities, far from highways, noise, and comfort, lies a small village called Oymyakon. At first glance, it looks like a quiet, frozen settlement. Snow-covered houses, silent roads, endless white landscapes stretching to the horizon. But this place is not normal. Oymyakon is located in Russia's remote Yakutia region, one of the coldest inhabited areas on the entire planet. And this village holds a record that feels almost impossible to believe. The coldest temperature ever recorded here is -71.2 degrees Celsius. To understand how extreme that is, this is colder than some parts of Antarctica during winter. Yes, colder than Antarctica. In a world where most people struggle with mild winters, around 800 people continue to live here, every single day, surviving, adapting, enduring conditions that most humans could not tolerate for even a few minutes. But what makes Oymyakon even more dangerous is not just the temperature, it's the geography. The village is surrounded by mountains, forming a natural bowl or basin. Cold air flows down into this basin and gets trapped. There is almost no wind here, which means the cold air has nowhere to go. It doesn't move. It doesn't change. It simply stays, building, intensifying, turning the entire region into a frozen trap. In many places, wind makes cold feel worse. But here, the stillness is what makes it deadly. Because the cold becomes dense, heavy, and relentless. Time itself feels frozen in this place. You rarely see people outside, not because the village is empty, but because stepping outside, even for a short time, can be dangerous. Oymyakon is not just cold. It is a place where nature shows its most extreme form, where survival is not guaranteed, and where every single day is a quiet battle against the cold. In most places around the world, cold is just uncomfortable, something you complain about, something you try to escape. But in Oymyakon, cold is not just a feeling, it is a threat. Here, the temperature drops so low that the human body begins to shut down. Within minutes, step outside, and within seconds, your body reacts. Your breath turns visible, then instantly begins to freeze. Tiny ice crystals start forming inside your nose. Each breath feels sharp, like inhaling needles. Your eyelashes slowly turn white, covered in frost, and your skin begins to burn. Yes, burn. Because extreme cold doesn't just numb, it damages. This is how frostbite begins. At first, you feel tingling, then pain, then nothing. Inside your body, something even more dangerous is happening. Your blood vessels begin to shrink, a natural survival response. The body is trying to protect your vital organs by reducing blood flow to your skin. But this comes at a cost. Less blood means less warmth. And without warmth, your cells begin to freeze. Water inside those cells turns into ice. And ice expands. These tiny ice crystals start tearing through the cell walls, destroying tissue from the inside. If exposure continues, the damage becomes permanent. Your skin may turn pale, then blue, and eventually black. That black color means the tissue is dead. No pain, no feeling, just damage that cannot be reversed. In places like Oymyakon, this isn't rare. It's part of daily life. People here know that staying outside too long can cost them a finger a nose, or even their life. Even simple tasks, like walking to a neighbor's house, become dangerous missions. Because here, cold is not just weather. It is a force, a silent, invisible danger that tests human limits every single day. So how do people survive in a place where the cold can kill within minutes? The answer is surprisingly simple. They adapt. In Oymyakon, survival is not about fighting nature. It's about understanding it and building life around it. Every home here is designed like a survival machine. Nothing is random. Nothing is ordinary. Each wall is built in layers. Thick wood on the outside, then insulation, foam barriers, and inner protective panels. These layers work together to trap heat inside and keep the deadly cold out. Even the windows are special. Triple glazed glass. 3 layers instead of 1. Because a single layer would instantly lose heat. But here, every degree matters. Inside the house, the most important system is heating. A central coal-powered boiler runs day and night without stopping. It sends heat through pipes into every room, and it cannot fail, not even for a short time, because if the heating stops, the temperature inside the house can drop dangerously fast. Pipes can freeze, walls can crack, and within hours, life itself becomes at risk. So the system is always running, always monitored, always protected. But here's the surprising part. Not every room is heated. Near the entrance of most homes, there are small, unheated rooms. At first, this might seem strange. Why leave a part of the house cold? But in Oymyakon, this is actually genius. These rooms act as natural refrigerators. No electricity needed. No machines required. Milk freezes solid. Meat stays preserved for months. Even fish and water turn into ice blocks. In a place where farming is nearly impossible, this natural freezing system becomes essential for survival. Here, people don't just endure the cold. They use it. They turn it into an advantage. Because in the harsh world of Oymyakon, cold is not just an enemy. It is also a tool. A tool that decides how people live, what they eat, and how they survive. Every single day. In most parts of the world, we turn a tap, and water flows instantly. Clean, easy, effortless. But in Oymyakon, that simple luxury does not exist. There are no running water systems, no pipelines, no underground plumbing. And the reason is simple. It would not survive. Because here, the moment water stops moving, it freezes. Pipes would turn into solid ice within minutes, bursting from pressure and becoming completely useless. So instead of building a system that would fail, people found another way. They adapted. In Oymyakon, water doesn't come from taps. It comes from ice. Huge blocks of frozen river ice are cut manually, lifted, loaded onto sleds, and dragged back home. This is not easy work. It requires time, effort, and strength. But it is the only reliable source of water. Once inside, the process continues. The ice is stored, then slowly melted near heat sources. Only then does it turn into usable water. And that water is used for everything. Drinking, cooking, washing, cleaning. Every single drop comes from melted ice. Even something as basic as bathing becomes a major task. Before a bath, people must first gather enough ice, then melt it, which takes hours. Heating it takes even longer. The entire process can take 4 to 5 hours just to prepare enough water. And because of how difficult it is, this routine doesn't happen daily. In fact, most families bathe only once a week. Not by choice, but by necessity. Because in this extreme environment, everything costs effort. Everything requires planning. There is no quick solution. No convenience. Only survival. Life in Oymyakon is a constant reminder that what we consider normal is actually a privilege. Because here, even water, the most basic need of life, must be earned. In most places, technology makes life easier. Phones connect us. Cars move us. Machines support us. But in Oymyakon, the extreme cold changes everything. Here, technology doesn't always help. Sometimes, it simply stops working. Step outside in freezing temperatures, and within minutes, your phone begins to fail. The battery drains rapidly. The screen becomes slow, unresponsive, and then suddenly, it shuts down. Not because it's broken, but because it's too cold to function. Cameras face the same problem. Lenses freeze. Moving parts stiffen. Even recording becomes difficult, because electronics struggle to survive. But the real challenge comes with something much bigger. Cars. In most parts of the world, a car is freedom. You start it and go. But in Oymyakon, a car can become useless in just a few hours. If a vehicle is left outside, without running, it begins to freeze. Not slowly, but completely. The fuel inside thickens. The oil turns dense and sticky. The battery loses power almost instantly. Even the tires can harden like stone. And when that happens, the car doesn't just struggle, it stops completely. Bringing it back to life is not simple. It's a process. People must use external heaters or special heating systems to warm the engine. This can take hours, sometimes 3, 4, even longer. And even after all that effort, there's no guarantee that the engine will start. In some cases, the damage is already done. Because here, the cold doesn't just slow things down, it shuts them down. Machines fail. Metal becomes fragile. Simple tools can break. Under pressure, life becomes unpredictable. Because in a place like Oymyakon, you don't control your environment. The environment controls everything. And even the strongest technology must obey the cold. But in this frozen world, where machines fail, and even humans struggle, some forms of life have done something incredible. They have adapted. In Oymyakon, nature has created survivors that can endure conditions most living beings cannot. One of the most remarkable examples is the Yakutian horse. At first glance, it looks small, almost ordinary. But this animal is built for extreme survival. It can withstand temperatures below -70 degrees Celsius, conditions where exposed skin freezes in minutes, where even breathing feels dangerous. So how does it survive? The answer lies in its design. These horses have incredibly thick fur, a natural insulating layer that traps heat close to the body. Their bodies are shorter and compact, which reduces heat loss. And beneath that fur, they carry a heavy layer of fat, acting like built-in protection against the cold. But what's even more surprising is how they live. They don't stay inside barns. They don't rely on heated shelters. Instead, they remain outside, day and night, through storms, through freezing winds, through temperatures that would kill most animals. They dig through snow to find grass underneath. They survive, using instinct and adaptation. And it's not just animals. Even human life here has adapted in unique ways. Food, for example, is completely different. In most places, we depend on fruits and vegetables. Fresh, green, natural. But in Oymyakon, that's almost impossible. The ground remains frozen all year. farming cannot exist. So people rely on something else. Meat, high in energy, rich in nutrients, and capable of sustaining life in extreme cold. Often, this meat is eaten raw, frozen solid. Fish, horse meat, liver, cut into pieces, and consumed as it is. Because cooking everything is not always practical, and freezing naturally preserves it. In this land, food is not about taste. It's about survival. Because here, every decision matters. Every adaptation matters. And whether it's humans or animals like the Yakutian horse, life continues, not by chance, but by evolution, by resilience, by learning how to exist in one of the harshest environments on Earth. In most places, daily life feels routine, safe, predictable, manageable. But in Oymyakon, every single day comes with risk, not because of crime, not because of chaos, but because of nature. Here, even the simplest actions can become life-threatening. Take walking, for example. In winter, the land transforms into a frozen landscape. Rivers turn into solid ice, creating natural pathways. People walk across them as if they were roads. But beneath that surface, danger always exists. Because not all ice is equal. Some areas are strong. Others are thin. Invisible cracks, hidden weaknesses, can break without warning. And if someone falls through into the freezing water below, the situation becomes critical. Within seconds, the body goes into shock. Breathing becomes uncontrollable. Muscles stop responding. And the cold begins to take over. In such temperatures, a person may have only minutes before losing the ability to move, before losing consciousness. And here's the hardest truth. There is no immediate help. No emergency teams arriving in seconds. No nearby hospitals ready to save you. In Oymyakon, you are often on your own. Survival depends on your reaction, your awareness, and sometimes, pure luck. There are stories, real stories, that show just how harsh this reality is. In one case, a man fell into freezing water, far from shelter. He understood the situation instantly. The cold was too extreme. Help was too far. And survival was unlikely. Faced with a slow, painful death, he made a tragic decision to end his life quickly. Not out of fear, but to avoid suffering. This is not a story meant to shock. It is a reflection of the environment. Because in this place, nature does not give second chances. It does not forgive mistakes. One wrong step, one misjudgment, one moment of carelessness can change everything. Life in Oymyakon is not just about living. It is about surviving. Every hour, every step, every decision. Because here, the line between life and death is always close. In many parts of the world, humans try to control nature. We build stronger systems, bigger cities, better technology, to overcome the environment. But in Oymyakon, that mindset doesn't work. Because here, nature is stronger, more powerful, more unpredictable, and impossible to control. So instead of fighting it, people choose a different path. They respect it. Life in this extreme region is not built on dominance, but on understanding, on knowing your limits, on accepting that survival depends on balance. Many locals follow ancient traditions, passed down through generations, beliefs rooted in deep connection with the land. In these traditions, nature is not just an environment, it is alive. Forests, rivers, animals, all are seen as part of a greater system. A system that must be respected. Hunters, for example, do not simply take from nature. They follow rituals. Before or after a hunt, they offer small gifts to what they believe are the spirits of the land. Food, prayers, symbolic gestures, as a way of showing gratitude. Because for them, hunting is not just survival. It is a relationship. They believe, if nature is respected, it gives back. If it is ignored or disrespected, it can take everything away. And in a place like Oymyakon, this belief feels real. Because every day, people see how powerful nature truly is. The cold can freeze life in minutes. The land can become dangerous without warning. And no human system can fully protect against it. So the mindset here is simple. You don't try to control nature. You learn to live with it, to listen to it, to adapt to it. Because survival here is not about strength. It's not about technology. It's about respect. A quiet understanding that humans are not above nature, but part of it. And in one of the harshest places on earth, that understanding is what keeps people alive. Despite everything you've seen, the freezing temperatures, the constant danger, the extreme isolation, life in Oymyakon does not stop. It continues, quietly, steadily, every single day. Because beyond the cold, beyond the challenges, there is something stronger. Human resilience. Families live here. Not just a few people surviving, but entire communities. Parents raising children. Neighbors supporting each other. Daily routines unfolding, just like anywhere else in the world. But with one major difference. Everything here requires more effort, more preparation, more strength. Even something as simple as going to school becomes a challenge. Children wake up early, while it is still dark outside. They wear multiple layers of clothing, wrapping their faces to protect their skin. And then, they step out into temperatures as low as -50 degrees Celsius. Their journey to school may only be a short distance. But in this environment, every step matters. Every minute counts. Yet they go. Every day. Because education continues. Even in the harshest conditions. Farmers also continue their work. They wake up before sunrise to care for animals, feeding them, protecting them from the cold, ensuring survival for both animals and humans. Hunters head into the wilderness, facing frozen forests, icy rivers, and unpredictable dangers. Not for adventure, but for survival. Because their efforts provide food, warmth, and stability for their families. And through all of this, life moves forward. People celebrate, they talk, they laugh, they build memories. Because even in a place defined by extreme cold, life still has warmth. The warmth of connection, of family, of human spirit. And that is what makes this place truly remarkable. Because in Oymyakon, people are not just surviving, they are living, proving something powerful, that humans can adapt to almost anything, no matter how harsh the environment, no matter how difficult the conditions. The will to live finds a way. Oymyakon is not just a place. It is a test of survival, of endurance, of human will. In a world where comfort feels normal, this village reveals a different truth. How fragile life really is. And yet, how strong humans can become. Because here, nothing is easy. Nothing is guaranteed. Every step, every breath, every day, is a fight to survive. And maybe that's the real lesson. Not just how harsh nature can be, but how powerful the human spirit is when it refuses to give up.